I look out through the bedroom window and I see a truck approaching. A young man steps out, approaches, and enters through the front door. He's walking through the downstairs hallway and laughing. He begins urinating on the wall. He spits on the carpet. He's moving through the first floor, breaking and upsetting things. He goes to the basement and stands at the top of the stairs. I'm angry at him, so I slam the door and he falls down. I can feel his bones snapping. I can feel him being ground up, dissolved and torn, splitting and shredding. I leave the door closed. I close my eyes and try to sleep.
The 2016 video game Anatomy by Kitty Horror Show demands little of its player. Its graphics and mechanics are almost as lo-fi as the setting of the game itself. Its gameplay leans on intuition and repetition, and its story, well, Anatomy's biggest ask is the strength of the player's own curiosity. A single run of the game clocks in around 40 minutes. The game is not here to hold your hand, but neither does it belabor the experience with trickery or deceit. It isn't trying to outsmart you. Regarding its horror, it is easier to say what Anatomy is not than what it is. It is not gory, it is not explicit, and it is not violent. It is not a survival or a combat game. It is not a haunted house in the traditional sense. There are no monsters to fight, and there is no place to hide. From the start of the game, Anatomy seeks to unsettle. There are no lights, doors are locked, windows are absent. The exits of the house are superficial, painted on pixels less substantial than the jiggle of any doorknob. You are trapped inside this house without context or identity. The game does not burden the player with the illusion of reality. There is no character. There is only the player and the house. You are presented with a cassette tape and a tape player on the kitchen table, and you must play the tapes in sequence to further explore the house. The game even guides you by presenting a text message at the bottom of the screen. The layout of the house is uncannily intuitive. Of course the kitchen is down the hall on the right. Of course the upstairs bathroom is the first door on the left. While I have never been in a house that looks like the house from Anatomy, Anatomy looks like every house I've ever been in. It is organic. It is understood. The familiarity of the house plays like a smokescreen, obscuring behind its predictable suburban quiet the danger of the commonplace and the fearsomeness of the familiar. The opening lines to the first tape are Anatomy's perhaps most quoted.
In the psychology of the modern civilized human being, it is difficult to overstate the significance of the house.
As its titular, most overt theme, the analogy of the anatomy of the house as the anatomy of a human being is underlined in the paintings littering the walls. They present at the intersection of the clinical and the grotesque, better found in the pages of a biology textbook or as etchings of a demon-haunted world. As the tapes go on in this analysis, a lexicological distinction should be made between a house and a home. The word house refers to the structure of the dwelling: walls, roof, floor, furnishings merely adequate for sustaining human life, where the word home gives life. Personal effects, marks of individuality, even the barest indication of inhabitants, a wrinkled pillow, a toothbrush by the sink, family photos, all are missing from the house of Anatomy. The dining table is bare, the TV unresponsive. There are no light sources, and the coat closet remains locked.
The living room circulates people, activity, communication. It is the room most likely to be found beating, as active and vivacious as its name would imply.
Where the voice on the tape describes the locus of light and warmth and movement within its anatomy, you are witness only to the dark, still, and cadaverous. The house is dormant, comatose. As the narration leads you to the master bedroom, you find yourself for the first time in the game enveloped by color. A bold red lines the walls and the bedding. Indeed, in form as it is in function,
The bedroom seems less like a mind and more like a mouth.
and it is in collecting this final tape that the room snaps shut around you, its door disappearing, the walls decorated with the viciousness of teeth, and one lone window, the first of its kind, appears behind you as though waking to your presence.
It is difficult to shake the impression that the house, through its lightless windows, is a creature capable of vision and intelligence. For it is here that the house is most likely to betray us. It is here that we place ourselves most at the house's mercy and spend each night hoping that it will not bite down.
Then you are set free. Literally, the game closes and you are left with the choice to leave now or go back in. Anatomy becomes then a battle of the wills. You may stop at any time, so which becomes more powerful? The dread or the curiosity? Of course, this is a game, right? It's meant to be played, so back in you go. The VCR blue screen reports the same date, August 18th, 1994, but this time the screen is offset and degraded. No time has passed, but it seems more aged. This time, the tracking lines are more aggressive. The whiny hum of its playback just a bit louder. The audio tapes are blown out and glitched.
In the psychology of the modern civilized human being, it is difficult to overstate the significance of the house. Since as early as the Neolithic era, humankind has defined the era of the dead.
And the on-screen text distorted to match. The house itself is much the same, though now its doors are open to you. The dining room table is now set. Windows now populate every room. There is a lamp in the living room, and the TV turns on, idle for input. A handful of oddities litter the space. The ceiling fan clips through the assumed front of the house. The downstairs bathroom mirror sits at a 90-degree angle to the wall. The painting in the upstairs bathroom jitters in and out of existence. A tape recorder in a previously locked upstairs bedroom shrieks a bedtime prayer. Paintings and oddly scaled windows extend through the ceiling, and a wiry artifact clips and jitters through the wall. A mysterious door in the master bedroom opens to reveal a second, even more mysterious locked door in its place. Bedroom tape is interrupted by a new voice, soft and feminine.
In the bedroom,
I dream that there are teeth growing all over me, everywhere on me and in me, like cysts or bone spurs. They're loose, but I can't remove them because I have no hands.
A contrast to the analytical male voice, closer and intimate. A first-hand account of a witness to an interloper disrespecting the house and paying dearly for it.
I leave the door closed. I close my eyes and try to sleep. The teeth continue growing on me until there's nothing left of me but teeth and gums and sinew.
The tape ends with your final instruction.
the basement is dark.
The basement door opens on its own. On screen, an unintelligible message. The game subjects you to one of its only jump scares and presents you the same dilemma as before: leave now or go back in. Upon the third launch of the game, Anatomy situates the player in an environment that feels truly hostile. It has awakened to your presence, its eyes open, walls flooded with windows, and it rapidly makes it clear that you are not welcome. Objects clip into one another and flicker in and out of existence. Paintings and windows duplicate and layer on top of each other and protrude through the walls. Even the electrical outlets are now absent from the claustrophobic walls. Those wiry tendrils fill the house, and even the illusion of a way out is absent as the front and back doors are now only solid walls. This house is no longer suitable for human habitation, if it ever was, and you are trapped inside it. Where before the lamp in the living room illuminated the space, it now occludes it with glitching fluorescent artifacts of light. The TV casts an accusatory red screen with the message, "You never came back." The only object that bears any sense of stability is the tape player, though the tapes now play at their most jarring volume. From the tapes, there is only one coherent message: hurts. The shrieked prayer in the upstairs bedroom now contains only tortured screams. You may be in a house, but it is clearly not a home. In fact, not once during the game does it claim to be one. A house, after all, is a blank slate upon which we project inhabitants. Doors are meant to be opened. Beds are meant to be slept in. Hallways are meant to be walked. It isn't the assurance that there is something in the dark which frightens us at night, but rather the absence in the depths of negative space. It isn't an empty doorway which makes us afraid, but the suggestion that to be empty, first, it has the capacity to be filled. We, like the house tortured by loneliness, are
inventing ghosts to walk its floors.
The final tape presents a threatening message.
If we were to dissect the house, we would find organs and stomach, brains and minds and eyes. Dreams and memories and to mouth that will bite down.
Before obscuring the doorway to the remainder of the house and leading you again into the basement, where it draws shut its final trap.
There is an important distinction that must be drawn between the words dissection and vivisection, a distinction that would appear to be lost on you. And now, like the wayward spider who witlessly settles upon a sweeper's tongue, you will be swallowed, because the truth is this: when a house is both hungry and awake, every room becomes a mouth.
In this final segment, one in which you are given no choice, no agency of your own, you are sent to one of several possible endings without instruction, left to wander a distorted and distressing landscape before you are dropped again into the basement beside a tape player, which plays out the house's final grievances.
What happens to a house when it is left alone? When it goes for too long unlived in? What does it think of? What does it dream? How does it regard those creatures who built it? Brought it into existence only to abandon it when its usefulness no longer satisfies them? It may grow lonesome. It may stare for long hours into the darkness of its own empty halls and see shadows. It may haunt itself, inventing ghosts to walk its floors. It may grow bitter. It may grow hungry. So hungry and so bitter that its scruples dissolve and its doors unlock themselves. While a house may hunger, it cannot starve. And so, in fever and anger and loneliness, it may simply lie in wait. Doors open. Shades drawn. Hallways empty. Hungry.
So what is anatomy? Anatomy is the cold prickle down your spine after you've turned out all the lights. Anatomy is the sprint up the stairs after dark.
It is a place we spend our childhoods filling with monsters that will lay for years in patient silence.
Anatomy is that empty doorframe, cast in shadow. Anatomy is the reminder that you, too, live in a house. How does your house feel about that? Of course, a house cannot feel in the literal sense, but anatomy's main argument is that the house is the reflection of the self. How frightening, then, to see one's own neglect and loneliness and bitterness reflected back to them, surrounded on every angle. Anatomy is a horror game, but you are not the victim. I opened with the claim that the house in Anatomy isn't haunted, that there is no monster contained within its walls, but that's not quite true, is it? Because it is haunted. There is a monster. The monster is you.